What's going on, family? How are you doing? I hope the sound is coming in better than what was it? Yesterday we had a few problems or whatever. Wait, listen. Hopefully we get through what we need to get through. We just had a little bit. It's not a regular thing that happens on Patreon, but whatever, because we be broadcasting live. But please, fam, please take a moment to hit that like button. If you have not subscribed to the channel, we are here every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. So if you have not subscribed with us, you are missing a lot of wonderful information. And I don't have to take long because I'm not going to listen. I know I do a lot of roasting. I'm going to try to not to do too much of that tonight because it's a sad, sad day. Now, I want to start with a song I hate. I know that sounds very odd, but fam, I want to start with a song I actually hate. Do y'all remember that song? I don't even know the name of it. One hop two times. Turn to the left. Turn to the right. Y'all remember that song? I hated that song. I still hate that song. Like when it comes on, I start to growl a little bit in my spirit. Like I hate that song. One time, two, what? Oh, shut up. So, and listen, I understand everybody got their own thing and that's fine, but I just didn't like it. And that's what today felt like to me. Right? And yesterday, that's what it felt like. It felt like I was listening to that little song that I don't like. 2 steps to the right, 2 steps to the left. Now hop 2 times. I don't want to do all that. See, I don't want to do all that. I don't want to do none of that. But that's what it felt like. So we have, for those of you all who we got to go back, we have, the cha-cha song. Cha-cha yourself on out of here. I don't like the cha-cha. I don't like the cha-cha. I don't like, they have a thing in the South called cha-cha that you can put on your food, to spice it up. I don't want the cha-cha. I'll eat it because I'll eat doggone near anything. I'm not picky, but I don't like none cha-cha. Okay? Now, that's what it felt like because we have been, listen everybody, we have been going back and forth. We have been, the California Commission, it was supposed to be Antonio, ADOS California, whatever that was, sent something that said they didn't want Antonio, who's the co-founder of the ADOS movement, to do it. They wanted somebody else. And I don't know how affiliates get to say what the co-founder don't do, but that's what they did. And then they became nasty, and nasty decided which was God don't like ugly. You named yourself that. Now so you're calling yourself NAASD. So that happened. Right? That happened. And now we're at what should be the end of this. Now, for those of you all, let's take a quick commercial break and say, for those of you all who want to be a part of something fundamental and real and true, the ADOS Advocacy Foundation is having some chapter information sessions because we're about to launch those chapters. So please go to the ADOS Twitter account to get those dates. I think I have them somewhere here to bring up at some point. But I just wanted to get that out there because that's what the real movement work we're talking about. This is a clown show. So let me show you a little bit about what happened and how we got here. I just want to give everybody probably shouldn't need a recap, but if you do, you might want to go to my Patreon because I don't want to stay here too long today, but this is what we were looking at. So they came up with a metric. When I talk about who came up with the metric, the California Task Force. First they said they wasn't giving no numbers. Then they came out and said they was going to give numbers. First, Camilla Moore came out, chairwoman of the California Reparations Task Force. She came out and said, that's not up to us. That is up to the legislature. We have provided them with the metric. And then they came back with this. They came out with this says one such estimate, this is from the New York Times, I believe, laid out in the report determined that to address the harms of redlining by banks, which disqualify people in black neighborhoods from taking out mortgages and owning homes, eligible black Californians should receive up to $148,000. That estimate based on a figure of 3,366 for each year they lived in California from the early 1930s to the late 1970s when federal redlining was most prevalent. It goes on to say, in theory, a lifelong state resident who is 71 years old, the average life expectancy could be eligible for roughly $1.2 million in total compensation for housing discrimination, mass incarceration, and additional harms outlined in the report. Now, part of what happened here is that And you have to understand politics to understand exactly what happened here. The messaging was really, really bad. So what happened was there was an onslaught, because we're going to talk about Gavin Newsom coming out today and saying, hey, no. He said, oh, absolutely, we're not doing cash payments. Then he tried to backtrack it because obviously somebody called and said you put us in quite a pickle by coming out and not even talking to us. And I'll tell you how I know he didn't talk to them. So this was quite a pickle, and how they got to these numbers, and there was nobody doing management, right? There was nobody going to the press. Fox News, the Daily Mail were all just bashing this thing in the head. 1.2 million. They were saying all kind of stuff. California don't have slavery. And there was nobody to explain why a state like California would need to do this, right? There was nobody to explain what role California. You just can't be like, well, they did have slaves, or well, they did have the. No, there's a whole kind of conversation you have to say. And if that conversation doesn't work, you have to leverage it against the federal government, which means you might have to take on Newsom, which means you have to be confrontational, and that's not something that you all are trained in doing. As a matter of fact, you said ADOS was too confrontational, and if you got us out of the way, you'd be able to do it. But we are out of the way. We got out of your way. I might have talked a little bit here and there, but I left you alone, and you were still not able to do it insofar as I've seen. Now, let's get into a little bit. We see a little bit of that, right? And let's get into a little bit about what happened, right? I might come back to this article right here, because that's actually some good background, but I don't want to do it. I don't think I want to do it just yet. I want to get into what the governor said first. So let me bring this up. This was on CNN, and this was on all the headlines, right? This ain't long work. California governor declines to publicly back recommended reparations payments for residents. Now I want to slow it down for just a second and explain to you what's happening here. Right? First of all, the first thing I want to explain to you is where he had this conversation. This was a conversation that happened at Fox News. Yes, that Fox News. Nothing is happenstance when you are in politics. You go to specific places to have a specific conversation to a specific group of people. So if you are going anywhere near Fox, I don't care whether it's Fox Online, Fox and Friends, or whatever, you are having a conversation to a conservative base of people. And what he is saying to a conservative base of people is, don't worry, I'm not doing this. He decides where to sit down. He didn't sit down. This was not even a conversation. It still would have been wrong, but the optics and who you are speaking to, that comes down to and from the network you're speaking to. He didn't go on MSNBC. That's the first thing. The first thing, ladies and gentlemen, is place. Where did it happen? It's like you're trying to solve a crime. It's the same thing with politics. Where did it happen? It was a Fox affiliate or whatever, online? Okay, that's the first thing. Where? When? They just announced this. Imagine you announcing something and saying this is what the payment, and because when you announce something, you're looking for support. This is what it's going to look like, and this is what the metric is, and this is what you're looking for support. This is what we're going to do. You're telling the whole world this is what we're going to do. This is what the plan looks like, right? Then your governor comes behind you, the person who, this is the same governor who okayed this in the first place. He gave it the green light. He comes behind you and goes to Fox News and says, yeah, you know what? That's not what we do. Oh, you don't believe me? Well, Yvette, that's not exactly what he said. No, tried to backtrack it a little bit later and said, well, we're going to wait on the legislature. That came later, but he went, and I want to show you exactly what he said. That is what he said, where he said it. That is very, very, very important. So let's go right here and just go through it. The part of the preliminary recommendations includes payments to Black Californians, which some estimate to projected by the state would owe up to $800 billion, more than 2.5 times its annual budget payments, right? In a statement to KCRA 3, Newsom said many of the recommendations, because everybody started asking for statements. You said, what, when, where, how, what happened? Recommendations. In a statement to KCRA 3, Newsom said many of the recommendations are things the state has already been addressing. I want to come out of this for 1 second. This is again understanding the political landscape. When a politician comes out and tells you some of the things that are being recommended are things that we have already addressed, they're letting you know that this is not going to be something that is transformational. This is not something that is transformative. As a matter of fact, we already doing half of the stuff they're talking about. We already ahead of the game. That is a signal, again, in terms of how you do political language and in terms of how you have the conversation, that is already part of it. You're saying we already do part of what's, listen, we're already doing part of this. Well, wait a minute. You are not doing cash payments, and if you're not doing cash payments, you're not doing reparations. We should all be clear on that, right? I mean, when we talk about reparations, we're talking about this lineage wealth gap, which gets miscast as a racial wealth gap. That's what we're talking about, right? So if that's what we're having a conversation about, you have not done any of that. So you are now mixing things up together and saying that, hey, we already doing a lot of this stuff, whatever. Well, he's basically saying, like, this is not going to be no payments. We already doing some of the stuff y'all people been talking about. So this ain't what you think it is. Everybody, white America, calm down. This has been making too much bad news. I don't want no more bad news. I need white America to calm down, and I need everybody to know that it ain't what they think it is. That's what happened. So let me just go back to the statement. I just want to make sure that we were clear on how this conversation was happening. That's all. I just want to make sure we all on the same page. Let me get that light there. So it says, are things the state has already been addressing, but did not give a clear indication if he would back payments. Now, not giving a clear indication means that you're not. Before you even get to the next paragraph, you should know if a politician doesn't give a clear indication and doesn't say, we're doing it and it's good for the country and it's good for whatever, and it's good for the people and ADOS, blah, 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 you already know where we're headed. The language, political language, is to me not very hard to interpret. Some people struggle. Dealing with that legacy is about much more than cash payments, Newsom said in the statement. Let me come out of here one more time. If somebody says something is about much more than cash payments, they're telling you that you're not getting cash payments. At this point, Biden would have to call in himself and say, listen, I got to get the Negroes. You got to get this thing started again. If you got cash payments, it will be because somebody hired and Newsom made a call that understand that need to happen. Because what he's telling you, let me slow down. What he's telling you when somebody says, anytime somebody says it's about more than cash payments, what they're telling you is that you're not getting cash payments. Right? Because that's kind of what, and I remember years ago, I used to be like, well, maybe it is about more than cash payments. Maybe we can do it through school or whatever. That's pre-data. Once you get your hands on the data, the wealth gap, once you understand that wealth is not income, once you understand that it's all a result of plunder, once you understand what people are inheriting and how they're living off that inheritance, and our inheritance was plundered, once you understand that that money that's in the system is still in the system from slavery, and it bakes us into the bottom in terms of poverty, and it lifts other people up in terms of wealth. Once you understand that, then you understand why what Newsom just said right there is total garbage. You understand that it cannot be anything. When you talk about, listen, when we talk about reparations, we're only talking about one thing. We're talking about a way to close that lineage wealth gap. It's a wealth gap. We're not talking about the education gap. We're not talking about the healthcare gap. Those are all things that are important. Those are all things that need to be addressed through policy. When we talk about reparations, though, you are only talking about a transfer of wealth. That is it. There is nothing else that you're talking about. And if somebody says it's more than cash payments, we already know, ladies and gentlemen, where we are headed. So let me put this back up. Oh, I think I was to the other one. Hold on a second. Yeah, here we are. It's about more than the cash payments, Newsom said in the statement. This work must continue. Following the task force's submission of its final report this summer, I look forward to a continued partnership with the legislature to advance systemic changes that ensure an inclusive and equitable future for all Californians. Now, first of all, equitable the word equitable there has nothing to do with reparations. Anything that has to do with all Californians has nothing to do with reparations. Now, if I were to count, I would count at least 5 signals, I think, in that one paragraph that lets you know that he is going in a direction away from reparations and not in a direction to reparations. That you don't have to. You don't. Well, I shouldn't say that, because maybe you do. Maybe you do have to be well, people come out, well, he didn't exactly say, I don't know, but then he backtracked it a little bit. He's already sent the message. It's kind of like how nobody cares about when you do. I remember when Antonio and I got into it with this AP reporter about something that had gone out. Y'all remember that Contreras fellow? And he had put out something with Jam, and they had treated Jam in the article as if she were an actual kind of legitimate person who was unbiased, and just quoted her as opposed to, as if she had not been kind of clout chasing us and stalking us and engaging in misinformation for quite some time. And they said, well, we can change it. And we said, yeah, but will it go back out on the wire again with the change information? They said no. See, what you said on that broadcast and what you put and what went out to all the affiliates, what you say later in a tweet doesn't matter that much. But if you just started following politics in 2019 at the ADOS conference, I understand why that would trouble you and confuse you. It doesn't confuse me about which way he's going and what he's doing. It doesn't confuse me at all. Then you had other people come out. You know how we do. We got to come out. Well, everybody got to come out, and everybody got to have a statement. I think he's setting a realistic expectation. There probably won't be check payments in the amount we've bannered around, said State Senator Stephen Bradford, who is also a member of the task force. I've tried to temper people's expectations that it might not be a check. All of this stuff should signal to you that what? It's not going to be a check. So if it's not going to be a check, there's not going to be reparations. It's just that simple. No check, no reparations. That's it. Is that complicated to anybody in the chat? I mean, I'm just trying to figure this out. It's not complicated to me. It makes sense to me. But people seem to be confused. If he comes out and says that, the senator comes out and says she's been was it a she or a he? Who was that? Who was it I just brought up? Anyway, Stephen, okay, if he comes out, I can't remember whose quote I was using. If he comes out and he says, I've been trying to temper expectations, probably won't be a check. That's what he said. And that's what Gavin Newsom said. Why are y'all still going around and saying it might be a check? It looks to me like everybody's on the same page in terms of the direction that Newsom is going, barring some unexpected event, which I just don't foresee. Okay, let's keep going. Now, and your chair of the California Task Force, this is what you get. Honored to have the support of California Governor ahead of the Reparations Task Force final report. Dealing with the legacy of slavery is much more than cash payments. And then she goes on to say, under the international law, reparation comes in 5 forms. Now hold on one second, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to go to something else Newsom said in a second. But hasn't one of the pillars of what we have been doing in this movement, I'm not asking about anybody else, hasn't one of the pillars be that we don't use an international framework for what we do here? You're trying to save face, ma'am. You're trying to say, I'm happy to have his support. See, what I see when I look at that is you trying to save face. That's first thing first. You're trying to save face in a way that doesn't make any sense. He has told you that it's not going to be reparations because you're not going to get any payments. You are now going to an international language of framing that says it doesn't have to be reparations. So anyway, if it doesn't have to be cash payments, if it doesn't have to be that, then why are you there? Because that doesn't close the what's called the racial wealth gap, which is really a lineage wealth gap. You are trying. He just came out and undercut you. You came out with the metric. You were defending it to the world, and you came out with a payment structure. He came out and said, we're not going to do payments, and you said, thank you for your support. What is wrong with you? See, now is the time where you got to be combative. Now is the time where you gotta fight that fight. But see, y'all weren't trained to fight. Y'all were trained to be pets and to be petted. You all were not. When we started fighting as ADOS, oh, if Yvette, the Tone, and ADOS, they just can't get along with nobody. That's the problem. If they would know how to get along, they're just too divisive. They can't make friends. They can't make coalitions. What happened to your coalition? Because I can tell you have never had a conversation with Gavin Newsom. I can tell he don't respect you. I can tell he don't respect you because he came out and he stepped on something you worked on for 2 years. And instead of saying, hey, no, you're not going to do this and pushing back, you said, well, thank you for your support. Well, oh my goodness, hot diggity dog. What support? In what world is that support? And in what world were we ever saying, well, you know, in the international language, what did the child say? Let me bring this up one time. Dealing with the legacy of slavery is much more than the cash payments. That's the Newsom quote. Under international law, reparations comes in 5 forms. Now, I think she's saying 4 of the 5 don't have anything to do with cash payments. I just don't know. So let me go to the last part of the governor's statement, because he had a statement. I skipped over part of it. So let me go to Mr. Newsom's statement. Dealing with that legacy, talking about slavery, is much more than cash payments. Yeah, this is what he said. Many of the recommendations put forward by the task force are critical action items we've already been hard at work addressing. Breaking down barriers to vote, bolstering resources to address hate. He didn't even say hate against who. He just said bolstering resources to address hate. That's it. Enacting sweeping law enforcement and justice reforms to build trust and safety. Strengthening economic mobility, all while investing billions to root out disparities and improve equity in housing. All right. Equity in housing, education, healthcare, and well beyond. He just threw everything on a Democratic platform on there and said, y'all take it and deal with it. This work must continue. Following the task force submission of its final report this summer, I look forward to a continued partnership. Yeah, we heard your partnership. We heard all that stuff. We heard it. We heard all that. It's all right. We heard you, sir. We heard it. Now, let me get to what there was something where he tried to walk it back. Let me see. And I remember this too, where she said they hadn't endorsed any recommendations. Listen, he don't have to. Listen, California Governor Gavin Newsom hasn't endorsed any recommendations as the task force submits its final report on June 29th. He also said the Reparations Task Force's independent findings and recommendations are a milestone in our bipartisan effort to advance justice and promote healing. This is reparations. Listen, I'm all in favor of lineage therapy. I think that's great. But reparations is not healing. Now that can be a part of it. You can give us our wealth back and say, now let's heal. I think that is a part of what happens. But what you just said, Camilla, unless you think all of us are half stupid, dumb, and crazy, you said a bunch of nothing. You said, well, he hasn't technically come out against it. Well, yes, he did. Even when the senator came out and said, hey, yeah, he's not going to really do cash payments. That's coming out against it. I don't know what political world everybody lives in, but this is the real world. And he's coming out and he's saying no. Now, listen, politics can change on the drop of a dime depending on what the Democratic Party needs. But at this moment, he's saying we're not doing cash payments, and the other senator understood it and said he's been trying to temper people, help them understand. And you can't say. And then when people say, well, you can't do, y'all didn't even get understand what's happening thus far. You haven't even gotten what Native Americans have gotten, which is just like lineage-based school. Now that's not wealth. I agree with that. But even in it's not reparations, but even in his plan, Newsom didn't say, but I hope that we can do some schools and we can give free tuition. It's not giving back wealth, but it'll be free tuition. It'll be free tuition to $8. We can do that much. Listen, it's not wealth. We do need cash payments. But listen, it would benefit. Wouldn't it benefit you If you could, we've discussed this. Wouldn't it benefit you if you could send your kid to school in California? If you could send them to Berkeley or whatever, like and not have to pay. Wouldn't it? That would benefit you. At least that would be a benefit. It wouldn't be reparations, but it would be a good educational program. And this is what the University of California said when they announced the program. I am pleased to announce the launch of the UC Native American Opportunity Plan, a new program that will advance critical efforts to expand student diversity and make the University of California more affordable and accessible for California's Native American undergraduate and graduate students. Starting in fall 2022, the university will ensure in-state system-wide tuition and student services fees are fully covered for California residents who are members of federally recognized Native American, American Indian, and Alaska Native tribes. This plan will be funded through a combination of existing state and university financial aid programs as well as other resources. They found money to do it. Right? Specific. Native American, that's a lineage. That's a very specific thing to do for this specific kind of lineage, right? You didn't get that. Came right out and stepped on you right after you announced. I cannot imagine. See, that's what happens when you don't have a relationship with somebody. You can tell that y'all weren't talking, and he said, "Well, just let me get through this part, and I'm gonna give y'all this or whatever." You could tell there was a total disconnect, which means that y'all don't even have a relationship with the man who greenlit this plan. Which means you probably didn't ask for it. You didn't deem it necessary. You just kind of took what you got. You kind of took what they were willing to throw you. Throw a little fat back over there. You took what? You run out there to get it. Yeah, but you said the problem was us. You said the problem was, we didn't know how to negotiate. You said, I thought you could negotiate. This don't look like a good negotiation. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. This does not look like a positive, good, productive negotiation. I just don't see it. If somebody else, they need to tell me. Now, looks like the governor stabbed you in the front and not the back. And I don't think you can't use international standards. We don't do that. Part of what we have done in terms of this movement is anchor this in America. And we have said that it has to be, this is an American justice claim. It's an American movement. And our claim is specific to us. It is not an international claim. But maybe that's what happens when your major in law school is international law. You don't have the framework for this, but you ran off with it anyway. You see, there are a lot of problems that happen here with people I have never seen anything like this. It is disgusting. Everybody just tried to run away and get the bag or whatever. And then Friday, Jones, we're going to get to you. You get in the middle of the session and start hollering about you going to be in the history books. And then Tariq Nasheed is behind you looking like a pimp named Slick back in 2003. I don't even understand how this happens. I don't understand this level of unprofessionalism. And I don't understand. Let me tell you something. If this had happened, if I or Antonio had been somewhere at a meeting, a professional meeting, and had acted a fool on the level of you people, there would be people lighting up. There would be 20 YouTube shows out by now about how we ruined the reparations movement by being outside and acting a fool. But I want to get into something else too. So that's not reparations. It didn't get nothing out of it. Y'all ain't talking. There's no relationship there. He's setting the stage for failure. He went on the Fox News to tell everybody to calm the white people down, and the white people getting upset. Not California, I'm moving. That's what that was about. That's all that was about. It wasn't about no more than that. He came out later on and tried to, let me see if I can find that other one where he came out. This is ridiculous. I don't think I have it, but he came out later and basically said that, I don't even know if it was later. He said we're gonna wait on the legislature. He's already said what he said. What is everybody talking about? But then we had a whole nother situation. And I think everybody has to. I think it's about time for everybody to understand that it's time for these failed experiments to be over with. Okay? for those of you all who didn't see the video, I'm not going to show the video. I showed it on Patreon. I'm not going to show it twice. Friday Jones was upset at Tariq Nasheed, who was in the audience, and she turned around and she first of all, she called into the task force from inside the room, put Camilla Moore in a very difficult situation to have to tell Friday Jones, you cannot call in from inside the room. She's saying, put some respect on my name. The people in here are going to be in the history books. Ma'am, we don't have reparations. You're not going to be in the history books. And if your goal and aim is to be in the history book, you're in the wrong profession. So somebody beside her starts then yelling at Flex's bank account back there. He's sitting back there, start yelling at him, and then he starts yelling back. And who knows what happened? Who knows? There's no way to know all of the different reasons why Governor Newsom decided he wasn't going to do this. But if I had looked up on my TV and saw this grifter man who has been calling black immigrants tethers for a very long time, if I had looked over there and saw him in the audience looking like he about to come to blows, and this is the image that my reparations task force has, I would pick up the phone too and say, I'm done. I'm finished. We don't know if that's true, but I would be finished. You are not going to do that. Now, I told y'all though, I told these people, when all these people were saying, Yvette, we are all the same lineage. You can't steal our lineage, Yvette. And I don't understand why you can't work with him, Yvette. Yvette, you were told y'all just so difficult. Why y'all this way? We told you he can't be worked with. We told you there is no working with somebody like this. Instead, the other people, y'all went and elevated him. Friday Jones, you had to yell at that. That man got under your skin so bad, you yelled at him. You yelled at him at a reparations task force, and you had to apologize. But you were the one who elevated him. Say what you want. I have never met Tariq Nasheed, but he humbled himself and called into the public comments. You had him on stage beside Camilla Moore. Y'all all should have excluded him a long time ago. We told you, we warned you, and you didn't do it. And you know what he did? You know what he did, Friday Jones? Then he lied on you. He lied on you. He went and then he said he had no idea who Friday Jones was. He lied on you. He talked about you. He called you fat. All kind of stuff he said about you. And you know what? And none of the people in your movement are defending you against him. Y'all are all cowards. Y'all are all scared of that man. You a bunch of big dumb baby cowards. I'm sorry. I cannot stand cowards. Y'all are all, listen. Chris Logsdon went in there and tried to break it up and never looked at Tariq. Chris Logsdon, why you lift all them weights if you can't tell both of these people? You sit down and you sit down too. You didn't even look at Tariq. I'm talking about lift. You gotta lift 200 pounds on the. I've seen you, and you gotta lift on the bench press. There's a 56-year-old man behind you hollering. He over there with the police and acting like he holding him back. What you doing? Hey, get your hands off me. Don't touch me. I'm finna slap him. And he said he was finna mess the whole thing up. That's who y'all invited into this movement. Listen, it has to be over. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this conversation. FBA was an interesting, stupid experiment. It is over with. Let it be done. Let it be done, because he couldn't work to this Nasheed man could not work with. We tried to. Y'all told me I should work with him. Oh, you can't work with. You can't work with nobody. Okay, well then Nancy tried to work with him and Friday ended up yelling at him in the middle of the thing, because you have to understand. Then he said he didn't. I don't know why she was yelling at me. I have no idea. Yes, you do. Listen. He did a whole video. You can go, I'm not going to play it. You're not going to get me with this stupid stuff. But he did a whole thing on basically calling Friday Jones a Democratic shield. So now this becomes the headline. So now you have a headline. Why is this middle-aged man who's about to be 60 causing fights in the thing? Argument at California reparations hearing takes toll. And it's not just this is not like a normal sort of argument. I want you all to just kind of understand that wherever this man goes, he destroys things and causes controversy. This is not a situation. I want to just kind of take this slow, because this is not a situation. He has not been able to, there is not one person in the movement space who this man has been able to get along with. Everybody is a fed. Everybody is a op. Everybody except him is up to no good. That is abnormal. It's abnormal for everybody, according to you, to be some kind of opposition person. Everybody is a fed. Right? That is 100% abnormal behavior. That is 100% abnormal behavior for you to make it out that everywhere you go, somebody's out to get you. That everywhere you be at, somebody, I know that was a fed. I don't know how these people come at me. They was ops. They was all the ops. No, maybe you the ops. Maybe it's you. And I tried to tell y'all, now he's Friday Jones, go check it out. Now he's saying that you are just an ADOS defector. You were the main one. You and Camilla, y'all were the main one who built him up. Now he's on his Twitter. Right? People send me everything. Now he's on his Twitter saying that y'all are just ADOS people. And he don't know what was wrong with you. Don't nobody want to talk about that? Listen, this is a failed experiment. You have to know that the man who was in the Michael Moore film as a pimp, the man who said that single black mothers couldn't get reparations, you have to, and I should never have to say this again, and I'm not saying it again. You have to know that that person has no intention of doing anything except performing. That person doesn't have the intellectual capacity to do anything except perform in front of a crowd. And every time they get, listen, I agree that Black Lives Matter wasn't whatever. But you mean to tell me you have never found a black movement that you like? Listen, he said, wasn't it him that said we got to get in the street and get it popping? He was out there getting it popping and nothing happened. He was out there, nothing happened. We done had rallies. We about to have expos. We about to have everything. And I want you to understand everything, what this has in common. Everything that this man does is geared towards doing something that is going to bring money to him. That's it. There is no collective uplift. Find one thing that he has ever done that has been for the collective. Now he'll go around and pay bail here and there. That's marketing. That's part of the marketing budget. If I go here and I take a picture of myself headed to pay somebody's bill, that's marketing. Just like this is marketing. This is all marketing. So you go and you talk, you have a real reparations conversation. You talk nasty to people. You talk, and I'm not saying that there aren't people in the diaspora who haven't talked nasty to us. But you take videos of somebody allegedly punching out a black immigrant and stuff like that. You put yourself on the radar in such a toxic way that you can never do anything politically. And you can't be dumb enough not to know that. So the only assumption I can make is that your role in movement work is to pour enough toxicity in movement work so that nobody takes us seriously. So what the point is, you pour enough toxicity in movement work that you poison the movement. Every movement this man touches turns to trash. And I'm not saying any of these things were great, but I don't care whether the dude with the guns, whether it is black. He never met we got a lot of black Democrats who are problems, but you never found one good one nowhere, not ever. You never found any kind of good person in politics. You never found anything. The whole solution is always to do a GoFundMe. Right? The whole solution is always to just go find some money for another project. That's the solution every time. And Friday, y'all fail for that. The solution every time is, hey, these people out here is real bad. We got to do something about the race soldiers. Send me some money. These people is on us, and that's why you got to pay for this next thing I'm doing. I'm doing an expo. I'm doing a juke joint. I'm doing a rally. How'd the rally work out? We got to go get it popping, right? How'd the rally work? I didn't say nothing when it happened because I didn't want nobody to accuse me of, oh, Yvette is the reason, you the reason it didn't work. No, I didn't say nothing. How did it work out? See, because I think it didn't work out too good because it happened during the time when Congress wasn't in session. There was only one article about it because you all didn't reach out to media. You don't have any kind of media apparatus. You have no kind of personality for that. You can't really discuss politics without being filleted and just kind of seared, right? So, yeah, it didn't work out. You knew it wasn't going to work out. It was just something to kind of, oh, y'all donate to my rally. You know, at a certain point, you have to stop. At a certain point, you have to just stop. You have to do movement work, and you have to just not be a part of somebody else's bag. I found this online, this little collection, so shout out. I didn't put this together myself. But you have to just stop allowing people to take full advantage of you at a certain point. You see, there are certain people who their whole shtick, right? Their whole shtick is they benefit when politics does not work. And you ask me, well, Yvette, how is that possible for black people to benefit when politics doesn't work? Well, it's a different kind of grievance industry, right? So if you have people like this, it's kind of like Charles Wu. Remember Charles Wu said about Boyce Watkins? You remember the whole Charles Wu thing where Charles Wu said Boyce was his the spokesperson, and every product they sold was about beating the white man. Like that was the sales pitch for the product. We gotta get them, and you gotta have your own, do your own. That's how you take them out. Buy this for $29.99. Buy this for $109.99. Right? It's the same thing. If we ever get politics right, or politics shows promise for us, or we learn how to do it and we move it in the right direction, he's out of business. Boyce is out of business. They're all out of business. Tariq, all of them. Because their whole thing is, man, we tried. And these race soldiers, listen, family, we got to get out here and do this rally. We got to have a show of force. Listen, family, we got to have a museum. We got to have our own. Ain't no museum. It's the chicken shack, juke joint, whatever. Listen, fam, we got to buy these DVDs. Listen, fam, give me some money. We got to go have an FBA conference. You do all this. Nobody was there, but the same people, it's always the same people talking the same stuff. We have Congress people, we have Dr. West, we have a whole bunch of people who are there, serious people. We're talking about doing serious movement work. We're talking about serious relationship. It's the same 8 to 10 people that show up every time that you pay for. At a certain point, this experiment has to be over. I understand what it was. You took somebody called into this show one time and said, Tariq Nasheed is very good at sweeping a bunch of stuff together in a circle. He don't think of nothing. And that's true. So you took something from Dr. Claude Anderson, which was a name. Then you took the rhetoric from ADOS and you put it all together as a sales tactic, though. You all have to understand that the reason that FBA never went anywhere because it was never intended to go anywhere. I hear people say, oh, Yvette, you let him steal your movement. Tariq's never going to steal anything that he doesn't want. He doesn't want to do movement work. He needs a sales tactic. The sales tactic used to be Pan-Africanism. When ADOS started catching and Pan-Africanism didn't work anymore, he had to change the sales tactic. It's just a sales tactic to get you to buy different things. It's a sales funnel. It's a marketing scheme. It's not a movement. He's never going to steal anything because he doesn't want to do that. As a matter of fact, Friday Jones and y'all, part of the reason he made sure, because I didn't like you all getting Liberation Ventures money either, and I have to express the perils of anybody getting that money early. You have to be self-directed. But the reason he did it, and he didn't do it till after we do it, did it everything he does, he just picks it up. But the reason he did that to y'all is different. He's never going to do movement work, so he has to have something to tell his people about why he couldn't do it. Oh, I found out they was Democratic Shields just like the other ones. Everybody's Democratic Shield. Right? And your people can't even spell it right. They spell Democratic Shield S-H-I-E-L-D. I don't even know what. But he had to get away from you because he's never going to do movement work. This is all marketing. And the only way to get away from you is to say that you all are co-opted. That's the only way to get away from you. He didn't say it for the same reason that we said it. He says that his critique was, I got to get away from these people, and I got to let people know that I'm getting away from them because I'm not ever going to do no movement work. Because movement work goes against what I'm doing here. It goes against me selling my stuff. I got to sell. I mean, how you going to sell pepper spray and keychains? You got a bunch of stuff you got to halt. You got a bunch of stuff you got to buy from China and mark up. That stuff takes a lot of work. You always gotta. He always brings in somebody else's marketing scheme, and so at a certain point, you gotta say, you know what? Everybody has to say, we tried, we tried, we tried with this character, right? We tried with this Nasheed fellow, and Yvette was right. ADOS was right. Nasty was wrong. Everybody who said we just got to get along, we all the same lineage, blah, blah, blah. That's not how it works. You have to exclude people from your movement who are toxic. You have to get rid of that. Because those people will poison everything. And by the time you're done, everybody's like, oh my God, those people are awful. They don't do anything but call names. And we don't do it. But he does it. Because that's the level of his mental development. That's the level of the maturity. But that's also his marketing plan. He has to have something because you market to us. Remember what Charles Wu told boys? You market to black people through emotion. So he has to find something to get us mad, to get us worked up. And then once you got us worked up, the thing is, I got something that you can do about it. Buy this. And buying something is very easy. It's usually easy to get somebody to buy something and to come out and be a part of something meaningful. And the minute we get you outside to do something meaningful, you start saying, hey man, we can really get this politics working. We can really do something. And you stop wanting to buy a buck breaking DVD. You realize that that's stupid. You realize that even if you want to do documentaries, there are better quality documentaries. There are better quality. Once you start reading, you realize that there are better quality writers. There are certainly better quality thinkers. And so you don't want to do that anymore. And so it's time. It's just time. And I told you all this in 2019. And some people have to learn the hard way. So it's time, people. It's time. Friday Jones had to learn. Nasty had to learn. And, you know, I agree that you're all grifters. But listen, Friday, I do believe that people should have stood up for you. And I didn't see anybody stand up for you. I saw a bunch of people go quiet. And I think you should learn a lesson. You know, I think you should learn a lesson about the people who are around you. Right, who will talk tough to me and talk tough to everybody, but they won't talk tough to this near 60-year-old man. I think you have a moment now that you need to sit back and see what's going on. Because when Camilla was hollering for security, well, nobody coming either. I want y'all to pay attention to everything in that video. The only police was the one that Tariq brought with him. Anyway, fam, listen. Let's just move away. It was a long experiment. It was a delay. And what we were trying to do, it was a postponement, but now it's just time to throw it away. Like throw all this Flex's bank account stuff away. We are not in the business of enriching people. This is about collective uplift. This is not about something that puts somebody else in a position puts one person in a position to live good and be uplifted. We want to uplift each other as a community. And some of that requires us having to be combative. Not all of it. We want to work, but nobody want to just have to step outside and be combative. But that has to be a tool in your toolbox. So I say that, and listen, for those of you all who are watching, if you want to get involved in movement work and you want to pivot away from foolishness, please go to the ADOS Foundation Twitter account. We have I think we have 3 chapter information sessions coming up. The first one is May 18th. Just go sign up for that Zoom, and we'll get you ready for these chapters that are about to launch. Okay, in summer. So please, please, please do that. Let's get the real work done. Give me a second to set up these phones because I don't want to take too long. But yeah, let the experiment go. Like it lasted as long as it could. We can't keep doing stuff that ain't gonna make no sense. People running around doing rallies. People running around running against people that they know they can't beat just because these are their permanent politicians. Now we have to move in the direction of doing things that actually work. So give me a second to set up the phones. 2 minutes or so, I will be back, and then if you want to, we can have a conversation. y'all fired up tonight, I see. So let me get, ain't nothing to it but to do it. Let me go. I meant to pour some water. Let me go to 617. What's going on? Hold on. Ooh, there we go.
Hey, Yvette, it's Reggie from Boston. How you doing?
Good, Reggie. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing good. This was a great and necessary conversation, Yvette, and the way that you framed it, it just really is just more proof of just what a great political mind that you are, in my opinion. Just with the way that the messaging, the going to the Fox News, I didn't see anybody else pick up on that. I even missed that. Where like the first place you go is to the conservatives and say, calm down, I'm really not going to do this. So good on you for doing that. And I think that a big part of the problem is the cowardice that Governor Newsom is leading with. He's moving in that space because a lot of the people who've called themselves leaders in the space have also led with cowardice. Mm. Like if you look at how Narcan and Cobra and Camp specifically was moving when they first tried to get HR 40 and different things going, is that, and I'm gonna try to find it, and if any of the other ADOS folks out there, got the receipts, let's find it and post it. But one of the things that Cam and them did not really want to do was to push compensation. Mm. Hence the 5 injury areas. There's like, there's other injury areas, and compensation is such a contentious topic. Let's get them on board with the other ones, and if we get that, then we can do the compensation. He's on record saying that. What they're also on record saying is that when they went to Pelosi, with HR 40, she said no. So they said, let's do a local strategy. That is retreat.
Yep.
If Yvette and Tone was in that room and Pelosi said no, Yvette and Tone and ADOS would have said, okay, I will be back at Washington, D.C. with more people. I'm not going to retreat to Evanston. Mm-hmm. I'm coming back and I'm doubling down. What we're dealing with is people who lead with cowardice. And if you're scared of white folks, if you're scared of the blowback, if you don't know strategy, like, just say that. And this whole 5 injury areas and international law, like you said, Yvette, it's a domestic issue. And what I also find so curious is that this whole 5 injury areas, it's useful in the international framework when you're talking about the United Nations, but this is a domestic project, multi-generational, over centuries. This whole 5 areas of harm, injury, whatever, that was around 2005, 2006 when the United Nations came up with that framework. So how are you imposing a framework in 2006 on centuries of history, like from 1600s up till today? You're imposing some framework you came up with in the 21st century to read 500 years of history. In what world does that make sense? And also, as I kind of wind it down, it doesn't even comport to how the historical record of how our people have fought for reparations in this country and the centrality of compensation. Like, I'm gonna just go down the list. I'm gonna like, if y'all want to get a pen and pad, just take out your notes. We're just gonna go down a quick walk through history. If you go to 1783, Belinda Sutton in Massachusetts, she petitioned the Massachusetts General Court for compensation for her enslavement. She wanted a pension. She wanted compensation. Field Order 15, 1865, they asked for land. We had an agrarian base. That was the base of the economy. You get the land, you grow, you sell what's on the land, hence wealth building. It's a form of compensation. You fast forward to 1878. A woman named Henrietta Woods sues for reparations, and she actually gets it.
Mm-hmm.
In 1878, she didn't say satisfaction. She didn't say guarantee of non-repetition.
She didn't include. Wait a minute. She didn't sue the global community. Reggie, she didn't sue the global community for it. It was international law.
No,
oh.
no. She sued the man that enslaved her. Like, and she actually won. And you fast forward down to 1897. You know, we all know Callie House, who started the Ex-Slave Mutual Relief Bounty and Pension Association of the United States of America. And like, the mission was to petition Congress for pensions as compensation. You go further down the line, 1915, there's a class action lawsuit, Johnson versus McAdoo. I mean, it was overturned because they sued the Treasury, and according to the United States, can't sue the United States. But they didn't sue for all of this other stuff. They sued for compensation based on the taxes that were taken from cotton. They wanted compensation. You fast forward, 1957, Queen Mother Audley Moore petitioned, like, she went to internationally to the United Nations, but what she demanded, part of it was compensation. She said $200 billion. She also asked for land. You know, if some people wanted to go back to Africa, she was fine with that, but compensation was a big part of that, and she went twice. Fast forward, 1963, Malcolm X, when he's talking about, when he has he did a speech called The Race Problem, he talked about just how massive the wealth that was stolen, and that those unpaid wages are due. Demanded compensation. He didn't go to, he talked about other stuff, but compensation was central to that. Fast forward, Martin Luther King, 1968. We all know what he said down there in Mississippi. Mm-hmm. We're coming to get our check. So from 1783 to 1968, compensation is a recurring and central theme in all of these conversations. But here in the 21st century, we have cowards saying it's not just a check. So when anybody comes to you saying it's not just a check, you just tell them Belinda Sutton said it was about a check, Callie House said it was about a check, Henrietta Woods said it was about a check, Sherman Order 15,
48
grow something on the land so I can get a check. Like, stop playing with me. If compensation is not tied to the claim, it is not reparations. Y'all better stop playing with us out here, because the chapters are coming. But I've talked enough, Yvette.
Oh, no, I appreciate you as always, Reg. I appreciate you. Thank you. Whew. I appreciate you as always. Great call, Reg. Yeah, I'm gonna go to my next call, but yeah, I just don't understand. I don't want to talk no more. I'm gonna go to my next call. 972. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Andy.
Hey.
Hi, Yvette. This is Andy.
I can hear you. How you doing? Today?
I'm doing well. I finally got my mother to sit and listen on one of my calls. I usually take them in the closet because they make so much noise. This was entertaining, but it was also enlightening. I'm so glad you got to listen to this one. I'll get right to the point. My concern is that Newsom is a Democrat. Mm-hmm. And as we've been going through all of our little, what do you call it? I want to call them spies throughout these various organizations. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at how they're interconnected with Obama. And we know what that's about. So as we're going forward, how are we going to address this politically between choosing, who we support?
Mm. Well, I you know what? I think one of the things that I said very early on is politicians respond, to pressure and not applause. you know, yes, Obama has some, definitely has some sway, especially the Democratic Party. They hand out money, all that, but there's only so much money to go around, right? And like the biggest
Right.
money goes to the stars, right? And so I think one
Right.
of the things that we have to, like, you really only know what you can do until you experiment with what the tools that you have available. That's what you know.
Hmm.
And the thing is, in terms of our political toolbox, my view is that we haven't experimented. We have not really, I saw some of that happening in Chicago. They were talking about, listen, we don't have the resources for the amount for the migrants that you're just like throwing into our communities. Like, and being at a town hall where they're expressing like we just don't have it. We as a group usually don't bring that kind of pressure to Democrats, right? And I think the first thing we have to do is say, what does that, how do they, let's see, they have to respond to this pressure, right? And that's kind of what, when we talk about this movement, yes, reparations is the cornerstone, but we're also talking about the agenda that protects reparations and anti-discrimination and protects our livelihoods here. We're talking about all of that, but you have to bring pressure to bear, and you have to be serious about it. So what's happened before is that we'll have people who talk and say, "Oh, we tired of being taken for granted. We don't like that. We don't like it." And then they will come, and at the end of the day, they'll still vote blue no matter who. That's what Democratic down ballot was about. People are like, "Oh, it's just down ballot. Oh, y'all a Democrat." No, that's not what it's about. It's about saying we're not voting for you. And it's about starting at the top. That's what it was about. It was never saying, hey, we're not going to implement this in other ways. It's like, we're going to start at the top. And we had a lot of people who were just like, no, we just can't let Trump. And it's just like, you have to sometimes, and I've said this too, sometimes what you have to do is that you have to take short-term pain for long-term gain. So people always say, oh my God, what if the other guy gets elected? Well, listen, sometimes you have to do that as a show of force. Listen, we're not doing this anymore. This is, we would much rather, what we want to do, we want to vote. But we want to vote somebody in office who is going to enact policies for us, not somebody who's going to get in office and then act like we don't exist and forget about us until it's time to get reelected. And sometimes you have to take a hit. We just have been very unwilling to even to apply the pressure beforehand. So even before you get to voting, there's a whole lot of pressure. Like, voting is a ritual. It's a ritual that we do in this country, but it's the ritual. There's a whole lot in terms of the political process, including your own knowledge and awareness and the books that you read that goes into that long before what you know about civics, long before that process. And we don't even have enough people who understand locally what happens in their local government, nationally, statewide, all of that. So I think that, first of all, the first thing we have to start, there has to be a political awareness. Then you have to take that awareness and apply it as pressure to your politicians so that you understand what you need now, and so that you can pressure them for what you need. Now, the thing is, if you pressure them, you got to know what you need. You can't just be like, y'all doing us wrong. No, you got to be specific. How much in this budget do you want moved from this line to this line? And why? Right? And so those are the sorts of things that we have to do. And and those are things that involve more than just the ritual of voting. I say here all the time, we don't believe in voter suppression. We believe in voter expression. We believe that our vote should express our needs, and who we vote for should improve our quality of life. So reparations is not your local or state thing, but there are resources, there is money, there are community needs that you have, and that should be expressed. Like, that's an expression. And if the person you're voting for is not doing that, if your needs and your quality of life is not expressed and improved because of that, there's pressure and pressure only comes through movements. I've never seen it really come any other way. I'm not saying that people can't individually do it, but when you look at how much we need, you're gonna need more than just a few people, especially when you don't have the money, the wealth.
Exactly. Now, I can tell you this. I'm glad the California task force showed their hand. I'm glad about the outcome. I cannot wait, because I think we're prepared to take on a state like Texas. I always write about this hideous state because I live here.
Okay.
And I'm excited for us to actually be prepared on how we need to move. And I think California was a prime example of just how inept the splinters are, how uneducated we are as a populace when it comes to politics. So I think this was a good experiment. It should have opened a lot of eyes. At least I hope.
I agree. I thank you, Andy, for calling in. I appreciate you. Good to hear from you again.
You have a good evening.
You too. Tell Mom I said what's up.
Okay.
All right, then. Bye. Let me go to my next caller. Yeah, let me go to let me go to 214. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, it's
Hey.
Nikki from Dallas, Texas.
What's going on? How you doing? 2 Texas in a row.
Yeah, I really enjoy your platform, and I think that it's important that the conversation continues. One of the things that I find myself frustrated with is just how much of a facade that the political process in America has become. And I think that it's kind of sad that we have these characters that we end up having to vote for that are kind of like selected for us through a number of vetting processes. Like, I don't know exactly where these candidates come from, but it's clear to me that they represent, a subset of the population that is not the masses. You know what I'm saying? Like, they come from, most of the time, middle to upper class families and stuff like that. And it's just kind of frustrating that it's not even within their understanding to kind of address, some of the problems that most Americans are concerned with as a whole.
Well, and
Now,
I think they come from parties, right?
right.
So it's kind of interesting to me when people say like we shouldn't be a part of a party, right? Because all of these elected officials come from parties, right? And so I'm not telling anybody to just be a part of one party or the other. I'm telling you where people are. So people say, "Oh, Yvette telling me to be Democrat." No, I'm telling you where Black voters are right now, right? And if you're going to be a part of a party, you should be influential in that party. So it's even with that, it's about how you do certain things. But I understand that. But this is a after, especially after even when you look, it's not when people think about Citizens United, they always think about national elections. But we don't talk a lot about ALEC and like what they went around and did in terms of just buying off state lawmakers and just kind of writing legislation for states, right? And there's like if you don't have the wealth, you all what you have for the most part is people power. So it's amazing to me that we don't, as a group of people, do more movement work, because we're in a space where like the majority of what we have is people power. It's people power. So you have to be. We should have movements going all the time, real movements, not we just gonna get outside when it's time to vote, not we just gonna get outside when somebody get killed, right? We should be where we are all the time. So I'll let you finish up. I'm sorry, man.
Right. So I don't know. I think that one of the biggest resources that we have in our current generation is social media, from the standpoint that it allows us to communicate, pretty much instantaneously, and with the resource of the internet and all of the research ability that the internet provides to be able to confirm, the information that people are sharing and solidify the information that people are sharing, so that, proper information is being shared between people.
Sure,
And I guess, one of my concerns is moving into the 2024 election is just how do we, take advantage of the fact that we have such a powerful communication platform, and how do we turn what our powers are into true leverage to actually influence, some of these political figures that are supposed to represent us.
I appreciate it, fam. I'll answer you offline. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for calling in. No, I appreciate it. Listen, I am of the mindset. I think online is a great tool, and I think we've done a lot online, and it's been an absolutely wonderful tool. I think we still get to use that tool. I think, though, we're at the point now where we have to start thinking and working around having an impact, seeing people at their office and stuff like that, right? I think tools are tools, and we use them. They are tools in our toolbox. But I think when these people have their town halls, when they do whatever it is that they do, when they say, hey, come out and meet your whatever, right? I think we have to be there. And I think we have to be the most educated people in the room in terms of the budgets, in terms of the politics. I think where we are now, you're gonna have to. I think we have to be outside. Being online is great, and we're still going to be online. There's no way you can't be online in this day and age. I just think, even in terms of how we community build, like, we should get to the point to where we know the other ADOS who are doing work in our community, and we'd like to see them. Just in terms of, I also want us to be part of what this is community building. I want us to be in a position where we support each other. We have gotten too far, I believe, into this kind of, the best way I can describe it is this individualistic American sort of rugged individualism, and that never used to be our culture, and we've kind of bought into it, and I wish we would kind of buy out of it, and start supporting each other. And politics has to be a part of that, because that's our quality of life. But I think it's bigger than that. I think we have to start being there for each other again. America individualism be damned, as far as I'm concerned. Going to my next call. I am going to 612-612. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette. I'm Prentice Johnson. It's very nice to make your acquaintance. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Okay.
And I want to say I'm an aspiring entrepreneur at 50 years old.
Oh, okay.
I'm a person who has suffered, I think, the gist of the issues that people are actually standing for today.
Okay.
Homeless 4 times. This is my 4th time and 4th year homeless. Since I've written a book, A Leap and a Fall, I'm coming up with a chart, historic chart, so that it can be submitted to schools nationwide. I really want to start several different businesses, but there are several issues that are occurring as I'm trying to make those strides. And it starts with slavery, leads to racism, and now my stagnant flow. I come to organizational meetings. I do it via the internet. I love technology. I'm great with it. Graphic design, web design, so on and so forth. I'm starting a company called Beginning Marketing. Excuse me. I think the major issue is these layers that are in place, and we are looking for an answer from racist individuals who are in place to tell us no. And that's what we got to stop doing. We got to stop catering to the cursed ego that's going to cause separation. Because when it comes down to the reality of the situation, we've been showed by our elders, it's really simplistic to separate ourselves even further and allow this man's ego to be catered to on a consistent basis. It's really simplistic to say, okay, well, we need this, and as long as they throw us a steak or something, one person satisfied while the rest of us suffer. It's really easy to see that when an individual gets into place that doesn't know exactly what it is that he is doing regarding what we're talking about here, racism, when we're talking about progress of ADOS. I'm talking about the ADOS citizen. It's really easy to see that they can get into place and stunt the growth of 100,000 people and still help 10 people. And that's not what we're trying to do here. We want to open up doors to reality. We want equity. We want true justice. And it's extremely difficult to see that everyone is on the same page. So as I watch these meetings, I start getting really upset. And you can take mental note that I'm watching you guys from afar, and I'm learning that the system is so messed up that many people don't want to get involved. Mm-hmm. They don't want to show that they're supportive. It's almost as if we're back in the 1800s, and they're scared. I'm not scared of this person who decides to step on the antidote when it's presented. I'm the individual that says we need to do this independently. I'm the one that says we're American citizens and we need to stand up. I'm the one that says we need to reach for the actual answer, the actual law that governs the earth, and we need to reach for the reality of the situation. I'm the one that says
I need you to wrap it up.
Y'all gotta stop.
I need you to wrap it up, fam. I appreciate your call, but I'm at the I got a full deck tonight. I got a full queue, so.
This stuff is actually going to cause us to go in the circular continuum, and it's going to happen to us again. I appreciate your platform. You have a good.
No, you have a great one. Have a great one. Have a good one. Okay, I am on my way to the next call. I am going to 770. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette. This is Nathan from Atlanta, Georgia.
Hey, Nathan, what's going on?
Hey. Yeah, so I appreciate your work. I've been following you for years, and, Tariq Nasheed, and, make a few points about him. I think he kind of, took some of the momentum that ADOS was moving towards and repackaged it into FBA and kind of I think he should have just supported ADOS in any way possible. That would have made our group stronger as a whole.
Well, how do you do that, though? How do you do that if all you want is for yourself to make money? Supporting ADOS would mean...
Exactly.
Yeah, supporting ADOS would mean, I am in this for the collective. That's what that would mean. Hey, I'm support you wherever I can. I'm in it. But if you're in it for yourself, you just kind of want to co-opt it and use it for a payday. So, yeah, I saw that coming. But go ahead, fam. I'm sorry.
Right. And, supporting a group, getting money, raising awareness, he could have did, but like you said, he just consolidated soul movies, opened up a museum. But the museum is not about reparations, and
is it a museum?
So that was kind of confusing.
Is it a museum, or did you just put stuff on the wall that you bought at the mall offline?
Yeah, exactly. So, it's kind of, I believe, in this moment in time, with the election, Donald Trump, the Democrats, the war is going on. I follow the politics and follow the money. And right now, people, I don't think, especially black people, are aware of it. The government, a lot of white people are pushing Russia to pay reparations right now, to Ukraine. So I think after the war wraps up, you're going to see America and the government give Ukraine actually money for reparations. They actually talking about it right now. So while they're talking about it, taking the assets of Russian billionaires, giving it back to Ukrainians and things like that, so they can easily accomplish reparations for other countries, and they know exactly what it is as a collective. And we need to take advantage of Donald Trump. Yes, we don't like Donald Trump, but we have to use it as a tool, because if the Democrats are afraid of Donald Trump, we can use that as leverage to push for reparations. In my humble opinion about it, and we can use it to say, hey, we have to, as long as an opponent, like Democrats know that we're afraid of something, they can use fear against us, like they've been using. But we have to tell them we're not afraid of Donald Trump being elected. So if they know that we're not afraid of him being elected and they're serious about this topic, at that point,
what you're basically saying is that you tell them that they can't scare us into voting for them. That we have to have an agenda that we approve of. You can't just scare us and just. I remember when they tried to scare us with Mitt Romney. Oh my God, you just can't let Mitt get it. And I was like, child, Mitt? That's what you scared me with, mittens? That's what y'all.
Right, exactly. But unfortunately, I've been in sales before and sales tactics and strategies before all my life. At this point, we can do that, but to be honest with you, it's not going to work this time. We actually have to, when somebody knows that somebody pretty much, they know that we're bluffing. They say, oh, you're a bluff. We actually have to prove it and don't vote and allow Donald Trump to be reelected. I think so.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next time, they're going to take it seriously.
Well, then the next time
At that point, because you have to demonstrate it.
Yeah, and they're already having a hard time with the black. They have a hard time with black vote every time, but they can just scare us in there. You remember Joe Biden said they're gonna put y'all back in chains. You remember when Obama was running? It's just like, dude, what are you scaring us with slavery? Are you scaring us with re-enslavement? Like, what is this about?
Right.
So I agree with you that like this, come hell or high water, you have to say this is going to be about an agenda. This is not going to be about I'm scared. This is going to be about I have an agenda on the table, and I need you. I need you to be accountable to that because you're accountable to me, right? In terms of, and then once that person gets elected, see, because that's what they did with us with Obama. When Obama got elected, everybody's saying, well, he never promised you that, and you had to say you're right because nobody forced him to promise anything. So he never promised that. And then when he got reelected, when it was time for him to get reelected, everybody says, well, we can't do Romney, because first it was McCain, then it was we can't do Romney. Well, wait a minute, it's time. Reelection is time for renegotiation. That's what it's time for. It's a renegotiation, but we're gonna rehire you or not. Let's have this conversation. It's not just, well, we got to do it because the other guy's so bad. Like, no, that's not what this is. So I do agree with what you're saying in terms of we can't be scared into voting. And I appreciate you for calling in. Thank you, fam. It's a
But yeah, you're right. And it's they talk about the rigged election and things like that. I know Donald Trump's kind of off the wall with that type of thing, but in reality, about the election right now, the Democrats are not allowing Joe Biden to have any debates with any type of Democratic leaders like Marianne Williams, Kennedy guy, the other person. So it's like they're suppressing, conversations about Marianne Williams talking about reparations, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's not being heard. They're laughing at her on TV, basically, mocking her.
Yeah, no, I got to get to some other callers.
We have to teach them a lesson.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to thank you for calling in. I got to get to some other people, but I appreciate you.
No problem.
Have a good one.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Have a good one.
Bye-bye. Going now to 718. 718, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind? You there, 718? All right. 718. Going once, going twice. All right.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. All right, 718. What's going on?
Hey, Yvette, this is Claudio in Brooklyn. How you doing?
What's up, Claudio? Pretty good. How about you?
I'm good.
Drop. We dropped Claudio. He'll call back. Man, these phone wires, I tell you, they be acting up. While we're waiting on that, we'll go to 404. 404, what's going on?
Hey, Yvette, happy Wednesday.
Hey, what's going on? Happy Wednesday to you.
Hey, this is Renee. I'm calling from Atlanta.
Hey.
I have a question for you because, okay, so I'm like you. I followed politics like when I was young. I started my interest in politics in middle school, through high school. I had a really good history teacher who also encouraged us, especially the girls, to be tapped in politically. But over the course of me following politics and also working in government, particularly local government at one point for a long time, the challenge that I have always seen is that sadly a lot of our people get behind people like politics is a popularity contest. And I guess my question to you is how do we move people away from making politics seem like it's like a homecoming, and we're voting for Mr. and Mrs. Homecoming, to getting people to see the severity of it? Because years ago, well before the housing crisis got as bad as it is, as a lot of things started to get progressively worse, I was doing advocacy around housing a long time ago, and people couldn't see the forest for the trees then. Now that houses, regular ass houses, are averaging anywhere between $400,000 or more, just a regular ass one-story house, now people see the urgency. But
It's like, why does it have to take the fire to be in your backyard to realize it's coming? Like, I'm just frustrated with our people seeing popularity. We're seeing politics as a popularity contest, especially when it comes to local government. A lot of the people that have been in office probably since I was in high school or longer are there because they've been there forever. It's not because they've done any real work. But it's because their name, people know their name, so they just keep voting for them over and over again.
Well, I think that is a problem, right? I think what and let's not talk about the cars. I saw something that said cars are at like 50% inventory. Like car inventories are 50% what they were before the pandemic, which means that's your car price. And it's like you don't believe. It's almost with our people sometimes. It's like you don't believe fire is real until somebody sets your blanket on fire, and you wake up like, oh, whoa, and it's just like, no, it was real before your blanket got caught on fire, right? It was real before that, and you have to be able to see that. And then once your blanket is on fire, I have told you the fire is real, and you got to watch for it. There's somebody going around here setting blankets on fire, and you will come to me then and be like, oh my God, you have to help me. Buy a new blanket, and you have to buy me some sads for my burns. And it's like, nah, you could have prevented that by doing what I asked you to do in the first place, right? Like, you could have prevented that. And now it's an emergency, right? Because you just now figured it out. And like, people will run to you and be like, oh, no. People who never did politics before will run to you and say, I need a GoFundMe because I'm about to be homeless. And I sympathize, but the other side of that is, you were always going to be what they want to, homeless, unhoused, or whatever, right? Because the system is set up for you not to have enough, right? And so if you heard me say that beforehand, a lot of people didn't hear me say that beforehand, and so they never knew. But if you hear me say that today, like, hey, the system is set up for you not to have enough and for you to be priced out and be wealthless, and in America, that means many more skid rows, and the likelihood of it being mostly us is coming. And you heard me say that, and you didn't get involved in politics. But then when it's time for the eviction, you want everybody to come in and put in 1,000, right? And they gotta pay this fee, and it's just like, why can't you learn early, right? That this is something that we have to do. It's not like doing politics is something that's new to us. We have been active in that since we got here, or at least trying to do that since the 1800s. So I don't know. My answer is I have no idea why we are that way. Because we've always had.
And you know what?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna add, to me, like, people like Tariq, like Boyce, like all of these grifters, Shine King, to me, they are what the popular politicians are in the black community. Like, people gravitate to them for whatever reason, and while they may have added some value at one point, in the long term there is no added value, and it's just like, how do people not keep seeing the hustle? And it's just frustrating.
Well, yeah, it is. Like, how do you not see? Like, some hustles are just in your face. Like, these are not even like sophisticated hustles you see on like American Greed. He took the credit card and he did it. He's like, oh, well, my goodness, that was sophisticated. If somebody got caught up in this, I understand. This is something that is just so transparent. Like, all of these little hustles. Like, I really thought like the Charles Wu scandal in terms of Boyce. Like, this man is like just the face of this, and and he said we make stuff look like black empowerment, but it's not. Like, it was just like, oh my God, this is the whole recipe. With Tariq, it's just kind of like he does the same thing over and over and over again. At the end of the day, it's going to be something that brings money back to him. It's never going to be about collective uplift, and he'll make up an excuse as to why. Oh, these people were shields or whatever. When you see the same thing over and over and over again, you would think that the mind would just be able to catch that pattern, not just on them, but on other people who are running the same scam. And but here's the thing. I think that because you look online, it exaggerates these people, and you think they're more popular than they are. When you go out into the real world and you start talking to people, they've never heard of a Tariq or a Boyce. They're like, who? these people, they're a problem because of how they were. Tariq became a problem because of how he was able to navigate the California Reparations Task Force, and they allowed him to sit on that stage beside Camilla Moore. That's how he became a problem, because of that relationship. But people don't know him, right? People don't, for the most part, don't know Boyce, and even the people I know is like, I never really liked him, whatever the case may be. Like I watched you, so I think we exaggerate their importance, but it's still a big problem that they're allowed to be around.
Yeah, it's just I hope my political wish for Black people as a collective is that when we see that we have voted for people, like I said, some of these politicians, at least in Fulton County and city of Atlanta, have been in office since I was in high school or younger, and like people, the voters complain, but I'm like, y'all still voting for them. So like, I hope my hope is that Black people will be like, okay, so we voted for you how many times and it hasn't worked. Like, we're gonna try somebody different. Like, we're not gonna keep doing this, because that also doesn't help to keep on putting in the same people over and over. And they never have anything to show. Like, we could pull up their record, and it's probably full of a bunch of bullcrap, but nothing that moves us closer to reparations or the things that we need in our community that will stabilize us.
Yeah, we grow very comfortable with mediocrity, right? And it's easy to grow comfortable with mediocrity if you believe mediocrity is all that is possible. And I think we just have to start thinking about politics as if everything's possible, but there's a very specific way that it has to be done. And if you want a specific outcome, you have to put forth a specific effort. And I don't think we really do that. But I appreciate your call, fam. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you.
No problem. Yeah, I think that's part of it. I mean, there's a lot to it, but like, listen, like, ask yourself, like, when you ask yourself, what's my political outcome? We all know that, like, the world is, and we all know about racism and all that stuff, but you have to ask yourself, like, what have I poured into my politics? Like, locally, nationally, what have I, and pouring into your politics is actually also what you know, right? How do you spread what you know? Right? Like, there are a lot of ways to kind of be politically active, and you just kind of ask yourself, like, when I look at people who follow maybe Tariq or whatever, you have to ask yourself, like, why don't they know more? Right? Like, if they knew just a little bit more, you don't have to be smart. You just got to be smarter than Tariq, and that's not very smart. Like, how is it that you don't know more? Well, you don't access information. And if you did, you would move away from that. So there is also a space where you have to, like, encourage people to, like, understand complex concepts. And you don't understand that from just, I got common sense. No, there are books for these things. 510, what's your name, where you calling from, and what's on your mind? 510?
I'm sorry, I have my mute button on. Can you hear me now?
Yep, what's going on?
Turn my background down. Okay, hey now, this is Dee DeMille.
Hey.
Out here in Los Angeles. Hey, thank you so much for having the show and especially for doing it on YouTube. I thought that was an awesome idea. I really don't have to, go all into, what happened at the last hearing and what's been going on here on the West Coast. You've articulated that very, very well. I just wanted to speak to the normalization of the talking points around, hey, we may not get cash payments. Cash payments may not be a reality, but, or, hey, there's still hope and all this hamster wheel ideology. It's disingenuous at best, but, there's a whole bunch of other adjectives I'd like to add, but I won't do that here. But I want to speak to our Secretary of State, Dr. Shirley Weber. She has also made those statements, and some folks have forgotten. She made those statements back in February when she there was an event at Sacramento State back in, I want to say, early February, maybe the first or second week of February, and she was a keynote speaker. And if I may, I'd like to play a clip of her statement. It's about maybe 55 seconds, if that's okay.
Okay.
Okay. Let me get this technology together. Okay, here we go. And that's what reparations involved, and hopefully it will involve all of things, because what the commission has done is looked at not only economic issues, because everybody thinks, well, everybody gets a check and move on. I'm not sure $20,000 can handle 400 years of oppression. And in California, $20,000 means buy a garage. That's not the house. Everybody knows that. So you have to go far away to buy some land for $20,000. It was not in California, that is for sure. So we know that reparations may involve financial, but it probably may not involve cash out. Somebody may be acknowledgement, and that's a question that apologies are extremely important. And acknowledgement, but we also know apologies without action means very little. And you feel the same position maybe with a smile on your face because somebody said that's all right. But in the end, you still have things that you don't have. Issues of housing, African Americans have the lowest percentage of ownership of housing. And everyone knows that a house is, for most folks, poor people particularly, it is your statement of economic wealth. It is intergenerational. If you're smart, as you get from generation to generation, it is often used to develop wealth. Because if you have a house, you can always mortgage it to do things for business, or your kids to go to college. It becomes your wealth. If most of us talk about how wealthy we are, we first count the value of our home. Because most of us don't have, whether it's black, white, or whatever, don't have wealth that is just given to us as a legacy. But we do have property and ownership of property and things that basically create our wealth. So and of course there will be issues concerning businesses and redlining and loans and those kinds of things that are there. We are optimistic that the reparations task force will basically present its immediately afterwards. Okay, so that's the end of the clip. And again, that was during an event at Sacramento State back in February of this year.
What's Shirley at? What is Shirley at? I have not seen Shirley. What's she at?
I ain't seen it either. And I do remember, there were a couple of, faces that were at the last meeting, but, their comments, I mean, they may have been for, PR stunts. Some folks are running for office. Some folks are seeking to accelerate other things. And so, it may have been a good look just to show up. However, if your actions and or your statements before and thereafter are, in a way contradictory to what the task force is supposed to be doing, because this is more so of in my opinion, this really seems more so of a reconciliation project than reparations. As you said before, without cash payments, it's not reparations. It's honestly really that simple. And, with the lack of promotion, with the lack of education and actually viable listening sessions statewide, there are a lot of people across age groups who are still confused and still worried about different language that's being used and elevated this day, and then it changes to this and this and this. And even for those that cannot articulate what's wrong, they know something's wrong.
I'm confused because she said something about land and I'm confused with what she said. Land, and we know, and that becomes wealth, but you can't buy much if you get cash. You can't buy much with it in California. What does that? That was. I heard she said something about it. Listen to the clip. That was a bunch of gobbledygook.
and it pulled on heartstrings, though. Because that code switch is something. When it comes to, and some politicians do it better than others, but certain politicians, they know how to turn certain words and mannerisms on when they get in front of the black community, even when they really don't have much to offer. And not to mention, also, I recently saw a statement by task force member Senator Bradford as well. There was a statement published earlier today in, does it have the publication? It doesn't. However, journalist Ashley Zavala, she had made the post online on Twitter, and he said, quote, and this is in regards to Governor Newsom's statement, quote, I think he's setting a realistic expectation. There probably won't be check payments in the amount
I read that. Mm-hmm.
We've bannered around.
Yeah, I read that one earlier. I read that statement earlier.
That it might not be a check, end quote.
Yeah. Well, what they're saying
He's
is that
a
it's not
task
going to
force
be.
member and a career legislator here.
Yeah, that's that. I mean, I read that earlier too. Like they and I read it on here. They it's not going to be checks. Like I don't even know what's happening. I don't even know what people are talking about.
Yeah, it's a mess.
And
It's a
it's
mess.
2 years.
They
Let me
have
just
to
say
will,
this. Let me
and
just
I wish
say
they
this
would be
too.
more honest about it.
Let me just say this too. It's 2 years.
So
It's 2 years of this. Like I don't think people understand. Like if you're not gonna get cash payments, you have to have the moment of confrontation and use that to leverage it in terms of federal. But you cannot waste 2 years of our time because everybody's paying attention to you now, right? Because you all went and you did it, and now everybody's looking at you. So you got 2 years of our attention and our time just wasted with you all bumbling around and trying to work with people that you were never going to be able to work with. And it's just sort of ridiculous on its face. That's just what it is. So I appreciate the clip too. I just,
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. And remember, Senator Bradford, he reintroduced a bill to extend the task force for another year. And the language is very, very similar to Joan Sawyer's previous bill when he was trying to do that, and there was pushback, et cetera, et cetera. So task force member and Senator Bradford, he's introduced another bill to try that again.
we be there for years. Thank you, fam. I appreciate it. Y'all gonna be there forever. Thank you so much. I'm going now to my last call, probably 724. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
What's up, Yvette? This is Evan calling in from Greensboro.
What's going on, Evan?
I just gotta call in on days like this because it just seems like am I really seeing what I'm seeing? Like this, I think this is a watershed moment that I would say, in my mind, like this is the full, like NASD has come around full circle like Obama. They have Obama-fied themselves, and I'm gonna explain what I mean by that. So, just going back a few years, right? Like we know a lot of these people like personally, right? These were some of the most unrelenting, uncompromising, what do we always say? Full-throated.
Mm-hmm.
That was our motto. We were full-throated, right? And I mean, like these, like I've seen people shout down Marion Wilson for not supporting enough cash in her plan.
Ooh.
Right. They shouted Marianne Williamson down to her face. I saw it at the conference. Some of the NASD for not having enough cash in her plan. We have now come full circle to a point where these same people are watching Newsom go on Fox News, and I mean, okay, let's give them the full 100% benefit of the doubt. Like we're just dumb, right? They watched Gavin Newsom go on Fox News and give statements that ended up being interpreted widely across the media as cash payments are not happening, right? Whether that's what he meant or not, we know they're trying to spin it their way, which I'm going to get to that in a second, but that's what happened. The next day, the only defense that he gave or the only opposition he gave to that was a local reporter with 4,000 Twitter followers.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to bring up. Yeah.
No, and actually, Newsom didn't talk to him directly. It was his comm staff person talked to a local reporter with 4,000 Twitter followers. The tweet, and he tweeted out a thread about saying, "Oh no, Newsom, he's not ruling out cash payments entirely yet. He needs a few months to think about it." And those same people that were shouting down Marianne Williamson for not supporting, for only, what was her number like?
It was like 500 billion, wasn't it? It was
and
like
they're not
half
happy
a
with
trillion.
that.
Yeah.
Now they're thanking Gavin Newsom for
his support.
For not entirely ruled for. He basically said no, but he, okay, like I said, we're going to dumb this all the way down. Even at the dumbest level, he's non-committal still, and that hasn't garnered any sort of new activity out of them. They thanked him as if So that's why I said this is an Obamaization.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second, fam. Hold on a second. They thanked him like he came out and supported them. Like they thanked him as if he came out and said, I support the cash payments and the metric that the task force set out. That's how they came out and thanked him. That's what they... Go ahead, fam. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, you're exactly right. And like how do we there was a point in time where these same people were like, we don't need a study. You don't do a study for other groups. To now, after a 2-year study, he needs several more months to still maybe say no. And that's the new standard. So I mean, like I said, and I'm going to get into why I think that is, because I dropped into a Twitter space last night for a few minutes.
Okay.
And Chris Lodgson was on it, and Marcel. We're doing the majority of the talking, and their plans are. Their takeaway was that we just need more reparationist candidates and a super PAC. That's where they are. The answer is more reparationist candidates.
Oh, so they offering to run for office now? Like, see, the thing is that...
Yes, so I
because I see what they're saying. What they're saying now is, it's got to get through the legislature, and we don't have enough votes. Well, child, Lord have mercy. How late are y'all to this game? So now all of y'all finna run for office. That's the end game. Y'all all finna just be running for stuff and saying that like we got to get in there to make this reparations happen.
Yeah, basically, and it's like they're not being confrontational now to, I guess, the politics don't even make sense to me, because I would think you would want to be extremely successful with the commission to advance any sort of political aspirations that you might have. Like, it's not like, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like there was people at these meetings seeing who you are and what you're about.
But hold on again, Evan. Like, but I understand what you're saying, and it makes sense in a functional world. But we live in a world, it seems, to where people don't know how to measure success and failure. So you can just say, I was involved in X, or I was a leader of X. And nobody will say, like, if you say, I was a leader of California Reparations, it's like nobody will say, well, was that a success or a failure? You know, like when you go to a job, they measure success and failure by like, well, I want to talk to your last manager. I want to see what projects you worked on. I want to see how those projects did. It's like, no, like that woman, Robin Ruth Simmons, is going around from town to town right now, and Evanston is a failure. So it makes sense if your group doesn't really measure success and failure. Or am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And but even still, like I think it just demonstrates. Like I said, it's like the mask has fallen off now. These are Obamas. These are people looking to get their start as community organizers and parlay that up to a political career for themselves, or to a more prominent whatever, in black politics or in black activism or whatever, because I know these people intimately. Like I know you know what I mean. I used to be in community with them. Like we were, minds racing a million miles a minute. What are we going to do next? Like, what's the next move? Like oh my gosh, this isn't good enough. We need to get them, stronger on their reparations. So like, for me, like the silence is just deafening for me as somebody who still has that same drive. I feel like this is me seeing it die in them. Like to me, like it's dead now. I can see it. Like,
well, that's how people sell out, right? That's how the sellout happens.
The original ADOS deal is gone.
Woo.
I'm gonna leave you with one last thought. Okay,
sure.
So I remember a certain podcast, a certain BTP, right? They had that big blow up broadcast where they said, somebody said that. I hope they die. I think they're agents because he specifically said what the agents do, according to him, it was they get the community excited about some big black thing, and then they just embarrass you. They just fail. It just collapses, and that's what they said you were doing because you didn't necessarily come out in full support for their preferred candidate who failed twice, and then they put at least 2 or 3 more candidates out who failed badly and publicly and embarrassingly. So this is just frequent failures now. So the people who said that the disruptors get people excited and just keep failing. So that's just my final thought. I'm not gonna.
No, I remember that they said that's what they do, and they said I hope they die, and everybody burst out laughing, right? And I don't even think everybody even understood at that moment how dangerous that language is. If you get one crazy person, nobody. And Tony and I don't like. We don't walk out here with no security. Like if you get a nut who really believes it, like oh my God, they're in the way of reparations. And somebody says I hope they die, and to me that kind of thing did not receive enough condemnation. Like somebody who says that, I don't think should be working in political spaces, but they maintain that relationship. And so there are all these different things. But you're right in the sense of like, so the other people are doing that now. They in terms of like, it's dead. The movement is dead. They've decided to move full force into grifterism, right? We're moving full force into jobs, and we're going to be reparationist candidates or whatever. And the people who shouted down Marianne Williamson are now clapping when the governor goes on Fox or whatever and says, "I'm not doing nothing," right? And then just says, "Well, I'm still gonna meet with them, and we're gonna parlay." Yeah, I agree. Thank you, great call, fam. I appreciate it. Woo. And let me just say this. You've seen the grift go full circle. So like he said you remember Chris Lawson was 2019 ADOS comes. I remember because he got on somebody's nerves. I remember them coming to me because he started chanting ADOS, and it was not the time to do that, and he just started doing it. Just always be wary of people who just are attention seekers. So that's one of like if I had to write a book on like how to start a movement and not how not to avoid certain traps. The people who jump out and the people who hug you the closest usually got a knife. They put them right back there. They just feeling your back for the right spot. But just the people who just want attention, you gotta watch them. But I remember that, so y'all will tell me like the people, yeah, y'all Yvette, y'all shoulda da 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 when she said da da da, and y'all shoulda da da da, and it's just like y'all just want to thank this man for like going out of his way to say we're not going to do cash payments, we're going to do equity, and a whole bunch of stuff don't make no sense, just to quiet conservatives. That's the only reason he did it. And other people just don't want. So it is what I said it was. That's all I can say. That's all I can say, fam. It is what I said it was. So everybody, I'm not going to get to the rest of the calls tonight. I appreciate everybody for calling in. Thank you so much. Hey, because we're already 2 hours in. Please hit that like button. Please hit subscribe if you have not subscribed to the channel. Also, one other thing that I would like for everybody to do, like I said, go to the ADOS Twitter page. ADOS, that's at ADOS.org. There is a tweet there, and I have retweeted a few times for you to sign up to our information sessions. First one's coming May 18th. Sign up for that so you can absolutely be a part of our chapter launch. Bring somebody with you because everything happens at the right time, I feel. And just as everything around us is sort of collapsing and people are being revealed, we are being lifted up. And it's time for us to get busy and do advocacy that can't be sold out and can't be bought out. So that's where we are, fam. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I hated to do it. I don't like talking about this kind of stuff. I'm hoping we could just move on. But some stuff just has to be addressed. It's just kind of necessary. It is what it is. And so we are where we are. So get some sleep, fam. Keep it easy breezy. Don't bother nobody. Don't let nobody bother you. If you're on Patreon, I will see you tomorrow. If not, I'll see you in a week. All right, fam? All right.